everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about color, and we have a lot of colors in our food and it appeals to us because it's a beautiful color. I wanted to talk with you today about dyes, and there are so many different dyes out there. We have the red 40, all the lakes, and I'm like, I've always wondered, why is it called a lake this, whatever. So anyway, we have lots of different colors in our food. And today I want to discuss with you about why you want to be careful of where your coloring is coming from. Is it a natural color or is it an artificial dye? And the coloring that I'm most going to be talking about today is red 40. With red 40, the FDA has actually done some research on it, and they say that the studies that have been done really don't show enough consistency that there's a problem. But I have looked over this and I've been trying to figure out, is there or is there not, and there's enough research there that I really think that we should be careful of staying away from these artificial colorings. And I'm going to just read you a few snippets that I found here and there, and I'm going to also be giving you the information, the links. I'll post those for you so you can go do your own research and figure that out for yourself. But red 40 is a certified color that comes from petroleum distillates or from coal tars. Ooh, yeah, yummy. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, it mandates that it has to be listed by name on a food and product label. Additives that don't need to be specified on labels are called exempt, and these colorings are made from plant, animal, or mineral sources. So since this one is not an exempt, it is actually made from something they don't consider as natural, then they have to list it on the label. According to the Center for Science in the Public Interest, red 40 and other AFCs, artificial colorings, can cause allergic reactions in some people. Research shows that they can also cause hyperactivity in children and immune system tumors in mice. Red 40 contains P-crecidine, which the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says is reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen. One study, trusted source, found that red 40 lowers reproductive success in rats. It also reduces parental and offspring weight, decreases brain weight, lowers chances for survival in newborn rats. The author said that the rats that consumed red 40 as 10% of their diet showed evidence of physical and behavioral toxicity, but that's from the 10% in their diet. The Environmental Working Group lists that overall hazard level for red 40 is low. Other entities claim that it's highly toxic, most importantly because people are unaware of how much they are exposed to it. And that is what is amazing is you think you're eating a food that, say a marshmallow, for instance. You would think, well, there's no red 40 in this, it's not red. But amazingly enough, there's artificial coloring in there. How? I don't know. But there are artificial colors in so many of our foods that we're not even aware of. And used to, you could say, well, if you got red 40 in your food, you're eating junk. Well, guess what? They have now started injecting red 40 into oranges and apples because it makes it prettier. So even in your fruit, you have to beware that you may be getting red 40 that's in so many things now. And used to, you could say, oh, well, if you're eating red 40, you're eating junk food. Well, no, they are expanding it out, and they're trying to get everybody. Even if you're not a person eating junk food, you have to be very careful. That's why eating organic is so very important. You don't want your fruit to have red 40 in it. You're trying to be healthy, eating fruit. So if you give your kid an apple and you think you're being healthy and you don't understand why your kid is still having behavioral issues, guess what? It could be the apple you just fed them. You thought you were making a healthy choice, but you didn't have an organic apple. There you go. So there's another reason to make sure you get organic fruits and vegetables when at all possible, because even those are being tainted now with red 40. It is, and I'll tell you the reason why I started to look at this, because my son loves strawberry milk. And we do almond milk. We don't do cow's milk because that is a real issue in my family. Lots of allergens there. But my son loves almond milk, and somehow through, I think we had he got a strawberry yoo-hoo at a gas station or something and discovered that he loves strawberry. And so I bought him some strawberry syrup, not really thinking too much about it. This was like a year ago. And let him start having strawberry milk, and he got to where he wanted it once and twice a day. And I didn't even realize his behaviors were getting awful. He was just angry all the time and just outbursts and rage quitting and his games and fighting with his brother and just ornery all the time. And so we started realizing that there was a link between when he ate anything with Red 40 or drank his strawberry milk, he would just go rah. So we cut him, and it was hard because he loves it. That's what's really difficult, is cutting those things away from them that they love, but they really aren't good for him. So I had to take his strawberry milk away from him, and yeah, it made him sad, but he is so much better. And this is what's interesting. Of course, we've got him on CBD oil, and that has helped tremendously with behaviors. But this last week at VBS, every night at the end of VBS, they give him snack and they give him Kool-Aid. And of course, I do not allow Kool-Aid in my house because it's got that awful coloring and it's all that extra sugar and it's just terrible for you. So we don't usually have Kool-Aid. So every night he would go and he would have his red Kool-Aid or his purple Kool-Aid or his orange Kool-Aid, and I could not figure out. By Friday, he was just awful. And I'm like, what has changed? Why is he acting like this? What is the difference? And then it hit me. He had artificial coloring at VBS every single night. And, I don't want to be that mom that sends my kid their water or their stevia Kool-Aid that has natural coloring in it. I don't want to be that mom, but at the same time, I don't want my kid to have this awful food coloring in his system. So it's terrible, the toss-up, because you want your kid to be like all the other kids. You don't want him to say, well, I can't have Red 40, so I can't get the colored Kool-Aid, But at the same time, you want to be healthy. So, and it really does affect some people, and it affects some people more than others. And one of the problems we have is it's not only Red 40, it's other things too. I'm just going to read a little bit more about this. So it actually created radioactive mice when they did Red 40 in mice. Lab animals showed significant retention of radioactivity in their guts after consuming Red Dye 40. Skeptics of these kinds of studies may counter by saying that rodents are fed mega quantities of the ingredient. But not only that, studies on rodents don't always translate into the same results in humans. Nonetheless, there is cause for alarm. Studies show fake food coloring is proven to cause DNA damage in mice, specifically in the stomach, lung, and colon. But there are also research studies on humans that reveal possible bad side effects. One group of study participants with hives and skin swelling were showing no symptoms before consuming Red 40, and skin breakouts were visible in about 15% of participants. Another thing that would happen with my son after he would drink his strawberry milk is his legs hurt him. Oh, they would just hurt him. He couldn't even sleep. They would hurt him so much. And so he was just eating ibuprofen. I mean, we were just every single night I was having to get, and I knew that was terrible for his liver. So, and of course we get the dye-free, because they do make a dye-free ibuprofen. Yes, medicines have dyes in them, by the way, just to make them pretty, because we care if our medicine's pretty, right? So we do get the dye-free ibuprofen, but I hated having to give that to him every single night, but I couldn't do anything else. We have now started using CBD relief cream, and that is tremendously helped, and I don't have to give him ibuprofen all the time. But now I've noticed, which I hate to say it out loud, now I've noticed that he doesn't have those cramps in his legs anymore when we are off of the dyes for a week or so. It'll go away and I won't have to worry about it. But then as soon as he gets back, like if we go out to eat at a restaurant and he wants to get a soda and he wants to get the Hawaiian punch or whatever, I would never let him get that normally, but that once a month treat, I'm like, okay, you can have the Red 40. And then, of course, that night we're back to our old routine of legs hurting and back to that terrible behavioral issue again. So, because of this evidence, the CSPI report says there's evidence that, although it's controversial and inconclusive, that Red 40, the most widely used dye, accelerates the appearance of tumors in mice. And though the report authors admit study shortcomings, they nonetheless offer this caution that it should not be used in foods. And they have linked it with learning disabilities and lowered IQ, antisocial behavior, depression and anxiety, and neurotoxicity. Now, we want neurotoxicity in our foods, right? I mean, that's just terrible. Some of the other common food dyes are yellow 5, yellow 6, and I thought it talked about blue and green, but it didn't. CSPI report says that these three dyes comprise 90% of all artificial colorings in food. In addition, the report also states that food dye consumption continues to increase. In fact, the rate of increase has been fivefold since mid 20th century. So we've got food dyes everywhere. It says the 3 dyes above all contain benzidine. Remember, benzidine causes cancer. In 1985, the FDA calculated that ingestion of free benzidine raised the cancer risk to just under the concern threshold, 1 cancer in 1 million people. Although 1 cancer in 1 million might sound minuscule, the FDA's review failed to account for bound molecules of benzidine, and bound molecules may increase the cancer risk. So we're looking at some severe issues if you have dyes in your food. You want to make sure you stay away from those. And if you are having trouble with your kids' sleep, if you're having trouble with anxiety, depression, if they're having trouble focusing or concentrating, if they're having behavioral issues, if they're not sitting still in their seat like they're supposed to, which, I mean, hey, they are kids. Let's remember that. But if their behaviors are out of this world crazy, if they're having troubles, and you think, I've done everything I can do, I've tried everything I can try, you need to remember food dyes as well. And there's also, let me pull this up, that there are other names that Red 40 can go by. It will be listed as Red 40, Red number 40, FD&C Red number 40, FD&C Red number 40, Allura Red AC, CI 16035. Now that one I wouldn't think to look for. CI 16035 is not something I would think is red dye. And then CI Food Red 17. So those are all the ways you can find Red 40 in your food. And you need to be checking for that because it is something that you want to stay away from. And then, of course, I don't even know. I have not looked at any apples or oranges to see if it's on the label. I don't know if they have to put that on a label on the orange or the apple. And I even saw somewhere that they may be putting it in cherries now too. So they're wanting to make them more appealing and beautiful. And they put that Red 40 in there. So you want to go organic on your fruits and veggies. I'm telling you, I can't get over the fact that now Red 40 is possibly in your fruits. So that's, I'll be putting the links down below of all the stuff that I have talked about today. You can look at it yourself. You can see the hazards of all the different things that I've talked about. And we need to try to keep our kids healthy and keep ourselves healthy, and just trying to find as many ways we can do that as possible. And our food is medicine, and if our food is not good for us, then we're hurting ourselves. We want to make sure our food is healthy for us and not hurting us. So I will talk to y'all more tomorrow. Bye.